Hello, my name is Mike Ward. I'm the Global Director of Content at Informa Pharma Intelligence Insights business. We're here at the Biotech Showcase in San Francisco. It's one of those meetings that kicks off the year. And earlier today we had the announcement that Johnson & Johnson have got their new JLABS initiative unveiled, and that's going to be in New York City. And I'm joined by Melinda Richter, who is the head of Johnson & Johnson Innovations JLABS.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So thanks for joining us, Melinda. So first, could you sort of explain what today's announcement is actually about?
Sure. Today we announced a partnership with the state of New York and the New York Genome Center to establish a JLABS in New York City for the entire New York region.
Right. Yeah. So now, in that press release,
yes,
it talked about the fact that the state of New York was going to going to invest $17 million into that initiative.
That's correct.
Is that how people can attract a JLABS establishment?
Yeah, so when we go into a market, we like to establish a consortium, a partnership of players who are all contributing to making something like this happen. And so in most cases, we have academic partners, hospital partners, government partners, and in this case, we have the state of New York as a partner, and we also have the New York Genome Center, which, as you may know, is an amalgamation of all the academic institutions across New York. So for their contribution, the state put in $17 million. And of course, if you know how life sciences works, when you have actually a lab platform, it's very expensive to put that kind of space and equipment in place. So the state of New York contributed $17 million to that effect.
So how did the sort of selection take place? I mean, did they come to you and sort of say, hey, we'd like you to set up a JLABS in New York, or?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think it's always about an ongoing dialogue. We, of course, have been very interested in the New York City and the New York region for quite some time. We've done a lot of deals there, and we've had a relationship with all of the academic institutions there, and have had this conversation about how can we make a JLABS happen in New York City. So the governor came to the rescue, if you will, and said, listen, I can contribute this to make this happen, and can everybody else then come to the table with their parts? And so he was the catalyst of it all.
Okay, so I mean, so far all the JLABS that have been established have been in North America. I mean, most of them are in the US, and there's one in Toronto.
Correct.
Is that the plan, that it's always going to be just North America, or do you have intentions to do it elsewhere?
Yeah, we're looking throughout Europe and Asia now to see where else might we go, and that's also been an ongoing dialogue, right? I think it's one of those things where we can't be everywhere, because each one we do is a labor of love. It's not just about money, but it's an incredible commitment on behalf of the people that go in there and the corporate resources to support it. And so we want to be very, very precise about what are the right locations to be in. And so there is potentially some announcements coming up in the near future about some future sites outside of North America.
Right, okay. And the program's been running for 5 years.
Correct, 5 years this month, actually, this JP Morgan.
Right, so back then there would have been a sort of a plan. You'd have probably had your PowerPoints out, sort of explain what the expectations were.
Yeah.
Could you sort of benchmark where we are now as to where you thought we'd be at this point?
Oh my gosh, I had no idea we would be this far doing this much. Back then, just getting one done was a major change for J&J and a big thing for the industry. And now we're about to, we just announced our 8th site. We also helped launch the Center for Device Innovation down in Houston, which is like JLABS, only very specifically focused on devices, and we'll have some internal work going on there as well as external work. We also have launched these quick fire challenges, which are sourcing globally the best innovation for really big unmet medical needs in the industry. Most recently, we did the World Without Disease Quickfire Challenge. So we were looking for cross-sector solutions, again, not just products, because patients want solutions. We wanted cross-sector solutions that would help prevent, intercept, and cure diseases. We ended up coming up with we had 470 companies apply from 37 countries around the world. And it's exciting in that we announced 3 winners and had very big cash prizes around those, but also had 109 companies we were following up with outside of that. So the ability for JLABS to not just expand from a physical perspective to different global sites, but really broaden their reach into touching every innovator around the world has been a remarkable revelation for us.
Right, so I guess that sort of brings to the question about what does success actually look like for a JLABS initiative?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we're looking for solutions that will ultimately get to patients, right? And obviously what's going to be near and dear to us is if we actually do some deals with these companies. Of course, we care about them getting to patients regardless of who they partner with. So overall, we look at how the companies are doing, how far are they going in terms of reaching their milestones to get into the clinic. And for us, we've now had more than 200 companies at JLABS, 140 now currently under residence, and I think that's going to be up to like 175 by the end of January. We've done deals with about 1/3 of the companies already. We're in conversations with about 50% of them along the way. And I would say probably the most important thing we get from all of that is insight. Right? We get insight into where the world of innovation is moving to. And our basic premise behind JLABS is that great science and technology is just as likely, if not more, to come from outside the walls of a big company as inside. So our goal is to take down the hurdles for those scientists out there in the world, to help them take their great ideas, their research, and actually turn them into a viable commercial entity that can reach the patient.
Okay, so what's the biggest challenge when establishing? So you say that, right? For example, there are going to be some other JLAB announcements this year. What is the biggest challenge when establishing one of those?
It's getting the right partnership in place. We don't want to go into a region by ourselves. We want to go in with a consortium of partners that represent the full continuum of what it takes to get a solution to the clinic. And so for us, it's important to make our JLABS their JLABS. And so we look for the right academic partners, the right hospital partners, and the right regional government partners. So it's a dance, it's a relationship, and so getting that just right is really key.
Okay, great. Well, Melinda, good luck with that.
Thank you.
And thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.